The less they know of your plans, the harder they'll find it to defend against them. Sun Tzu, they say you can't judge a book by its cover. That's a comforting lie we tell ourselves. The truth is, from the moment you meet someone, a silent evaluation begins. A game played out on the canvas of your face. This isn't about superficial beauty. It's about the subtle cues that reveal your confidence, your intentions, and your willingness to be led. Most people are oblivious, puppets dancing to unspoken commands. They react, they emote, they give away their power without ever knowing they had it. We're here to show you the strings, to teach you how to read the faces around you, and more importantly, how to control the face you present to the world. The face is a battleground of micro-expressions, fleeting muscle movements that betray your true emotions. A flicker of fear in the eyes, a tightening of the lips that hints at suppressed anger, a subtle raising of the eyebrow that signals disbelief. These are the tells that separate the winners from the losers in the social game. Learning to recognize these signs is like learning a secret language. It allows you to see beneath the surface, to understand what people are really thinking and feeling, regardless of what they're saying. But awareness alone isn't enough. You must also master the art of controlling your own facial expressions. Think of your face as a mask. Not a mask to hide behind, but a mask to project the image you want to project. A mask of calm confidence, even when you're feeling anxious. A mask of genuine interest, even when you're bored to tears. A mask of unwavering resolve, even when you're facing overwhelming odds. This isn't about being fake, it's about being strategic. It's about understanding that your face is a powerful tool and learning how to wield it with precision and control. The uninitiated believe sincerity is paramount. We know sincerity is a liability. Consider the poker face. It's not about having no expression at all. It's about having a neutral expression that reveals nothing, while you carefully analyze your opponents and plan your next move. It's a mask of impassivity that conceals a mind working at full speed. This same principle applies to everyday interactions. Learn to control your reactions, to manage your emotions, and to present a face that inspires confidence and respect. The ability to read and control faces is not innate. It's a skill that must be developed through observation, practice, and a deep understanding of human psychology. It's about paying attention to the nuances of expression, the subtle shifts in posture, the almost imperceptible changes in tone of voice. It's about understanding the underlying emotions that drive these outward manifestations. And it's about learning to manage your own emotions so that they don't betray you in the heat of the moment. The world is full of predators, people who are constantly looking for weakness to exploit. They can sense fear, insecurity, and uncertainty like sharks sensing blood in the water. By mastering the game of faces, you can protect yourself from these predators and turn the tables on them. You can learn to project an image of strength and confidence that will deter them from targeting you. You can learn to read their faces, to anticipate their moves, and to use their own tactics against them. This isn't about becoming a master manipulator. It's about gaining control of your own destiny. It's about understanding the dynamics of power and learning how to navigate them effectively. It's about protecting yourself from those who would seek to take advantage of you. And it's about achieving your goals with greater ease and confidence. The alternative is to remain ignorant, a pawn in a game you don't even know you're playing. The choice is yours. Learn to read the game or be played by it. The human face is a complex canvas, a constantly shifting landscape of emotions and intentions. It's a window, not always to the soul, but certainly to the immediate state of mind. Understanding the psychology behind facial expressions is crucial to mastering the game of faces. It's not simply about recognizing the basic emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, or fear. It's about understanding the subtle variations within those emotions, the micro-expressions that flash across the face in a fraction of a second, revealing the truth that lies beneath the surface. Think of the slight tightening of the lips that indicates concealed anger, the almost imperceptible widening of the eyes that betrays surprise, or the fleeting furrow of the brow that suggests confusion or doubt. These micro-expressions are often involuntary, and they are much harder to consciously control than the broader, more deliberate expressions we use to communicate. Learning to spot these fleeting signals is like learning a secret language, a language that can give you invaluable insight into the other person's thoughts and feelings. The key is observation, constant and meticulous observation. Pay attention not just to the eyes and mouth, but to the entire face, the subtle movements of the forehead, the twitch of a muscle in the cheek, the angle of the jaw. These seemingly insignificant details can tell you a great deal about what's going on beneath the surface. It's also important to understand the context in which these expressions are occurring. A smile can mean many different things, depending on the situation and the relationship between the people involved. It can be genuine expression of happiness, or it can be a mask used to conceal other emotions, such as nervousness, discomfort, or even contempt. A practiced player in the game of faces learns to distinguish between a real smile, which engages the muscles around the eyes, and a fake smile, which is usually confined to the mouth. Similarly, a furrowed brow can indicate confusion or concentration, but it can also be a sign of anger or frustration. The context will help you to interpret the expression accurately. Beyond simple recognition, you must understand the asterisk Y behind the expression. What is driving this emotional display? What is the other person trying to achieve? Are they attempting to deceive you, to manipulate you, or to impress you? Understanding the underlying motivations will give you a significant advantage in the social arena. It's also critical to be aware of your own facial expressions. Your face is a billboard broadcasting your thoughts and emotions to the world, whether you realize it or not. If you want to project an image of confidence and control, you need to be mindful of the messages your face is sending. Avoid fidgeting, twitching, or displaying any other signs of nervousness or insecurity. Maintain eye contact, but not so intensely that it becomes threatening. Smile genuinely, but not so broadly that it appears insincere. Practice maintaining a calm, neutral expression, a poker face that reveals nothing of your inner thoughts. This doesn't mean that you should become emotionless or robotic. It simply means that you should learn to control your expressions so that they convey the message you want to convey, rather than betraying your vulnerabilities. Learning to control your facial expressions is a skill that takes time and practice, but it's well worth the effort. It will help you to project an image of strength and confidence, to deter potential predators, and to navigate the complex dynamics of social interaction with greater ease and effectiveness. Furthermore, understanding the game of faces involves recognizing the power dynamics inherent in social interactions. Certain facial expressions can signal dominance or submission, status or deference. For example, maintaining direct eye contact is often seen as a sign of confidence and dominance, while averting the gaze can be interpreted as a sign of submission or weakness. Similarly, a relaxed posture and a confident smile can project an image of high status, while a slumped posture and a hesitant expression can convey a lack of confidence and power. By understanding these subtle cues, you can learn to manipulate the dynamics of social interactions to your advantage. You can use your facial expressions to assert your dominance, to command respect, and to influence the behavior of others. However, it's important to use this knowledge ethically and responsibly. The goal is not to manipulate or control others for your own personal gain, but to create more equitable and mutually beneficial interactions. The key is to use your understanding of facial expressions to build rapport, to foster trust, and to communicate effectively. By paying attention to the nonverbal cues that others are sending, you can gain a deeper understanding of their needs, desires, and motivations. This will allow you to tailor your own communication style to better connect with them and to build stronger relationships. Ultimately, mastering the game of faces is about developing a heightened awareness of yourself and others. It's about learning to read the subtle signals that are constantly being exchanged in social interactions, and using that knowledge to navigate the world with greater confidence and effectiveness. It's about understanding the power of nonverbal communication and learning to use it to your advantage. It's a skill that can be learned and developed, and it's one that will serve you well in all aspects of your life, from your personal relationships to your professional career. It's about seeing the chessboard for what it is. Imagine you're at a negotiation, high stakes, a deal that could make or break your career. Across the table sits your counterpart, a seasoned veteran known for their ruthless tactics and ability to squeeze every last drop of value. They start by making a seemingly generous offer, their face an impassive mask. But you've studied the game of faces. You notice the subtle tightening around their eyes, a micro-expression that betrays a hint of discomfort. It suggests the offer isn't as good as they're trying to portray. This tiny tell, invisible to the untrained eye, is your opening. You don't immediately accept. Instead, you maintain steady eye contact, a neutral expression on your face, and slowly, deliberately push back. You raise a few minor concerns, testing the waters. The veteran responds, their tone still calm, but you see a fleeting flicker of annoyance cross their face. This confirms your suspicion. They are vulnerable. You press further, not aggressively, but with a quiet confidence born from your understanding of their emotional state. You use mirroring, subtly matching their body language to build a subconscious connection, while simultaneously dissecting their every expression. You notice when their eyebrows furrow slightly as you mention a specific clause in the contract, indicating a point of potential contention. Now you know where their true anxieties lie. The negotiation continues, a silent battle waged through veiled words and carefully controlled expressions. But you are no longer playing blind. You see the game. You understand the signals. You use your knowledge to subtly steer the conversation, to exploit their weaknesses, and to ultimately secure a far more favorable outcome than you initially thought possible. This isn't about bullying or manipulation in the crude sense. It's about understanding the unspoken language of emotion and using that understanding to navigate complex social landscapes. It's about recognizing that every facial tick, every subtle shift in posture, every micro-expression is a piece of information, a clue that can be deciphered to reveal the underlying truth. It's about transforming yourself from a passive observer into an active player, someone who understands the dynamics of power and influence, and can use that understanding to achieve your goals. The game of faces is about sharpening your perception, honing your intuition, and developing the ability to read people with laser-like accuracy. It's about knowing when to push, when to yield, and when to simply observe and gather information. This ability extends far beyond the boardroom. It's invaluable in personal relationships, in social gatherings, and in any situation where understanding human behavior is critical to success. It's about seeing beyond the facade, piercing through the deception, and understanding the real motivations and intentions of the people around you. It allows you to anticipate their moves, to prepare your responses, and to maintain control of the narrative. Ultimately, mastering the game of faces is about mastering yourself. It's about developing the self-awareness and emotional intelligence necessary to understand your own biases, your own vulnerabilities, and your own tendencies. It's about learning to control your own expressions, to project confidence and authority, and to use your body language to communicate your message effectively. It's about turning the tables and making them read you. The first trap in the game of faces is assuming that everyone plays by the same rules. This naive belief is quickly shattered when encountering individuals who weaponize their expressions, consciously crafting masks designed to deceive and manipulate. The weak fail to recognize that honesty is not a universal constant, and that many people use their faces as tools to achieve ulterior motives. These individuals project false sincerity, feigned empathy, and manufactured outrage, all calculated to elicit specific responses from their targets. Those who lack the awareness to detect these manipulations are easily led astray, becoming pawns in a game they don't even realize they're playing. Another common pitfall is relying solely on verbal communication while ignoring the silent language of the face. People often say one thing while their expressions betray their true feelings. The discrepancy between words and nonverbal cues is a glaring red flag that the untrained eye simply misses. This oversight can lead to misinterpretations, flawed judgments, and ultimately being taken advantage of. It's not enough to listen to what someone is saying. You must also watch how they say it. The subtle tensing of the jaw, the fleeting flicker of discomfort in the eyes, the barely perceptible tightening of the lips, these microexpressions reveal the truth that words often conceal. Failing to calibrate your observations to a baseline is another crucial mistake. Every individual has a unique set of facial expressions and mannerisms that are characteristic of their personality and emotional state. Without establishing a baseline, it's impossible to detect deviations from their norm, which can indicate stress, deception, or hidden agendas. Understanding someone's typical behavior is essential for identifying when they are deviating from it, and those deviations are the key to unlocking their true intentions. Jumping to conclusions based on preconceived notions is a dangerous habit that often leads to misreading people. Stereotypes, biases, and personal experiences can cloud judgment and distort perception. Assuming that someone is being dishonest simply because they fit a certain profile or remind you of someone you distrust is a recipe for disaster. Approaching each interaction with an open mind and a willingness to observe without prejudice is critical for accurate assessment. The inability to control your own facial expressions is also a significant weakness. If you wear your emotions on your sleeve, you become an open book for others to read. Skilled manipulators can exploit your vulnerabilities by provoking emotional reactions and using your expressions against you. Developing the ability to maintain a neutral facade, to mask your true feelings, and to project confidence even when you're feeling insecure is an essential skill for navigating the game of faces. Becoming aware of your own tells, the unconscious expressions that reveal your inner state, is equally important. Recognizing and controlling these involuntary signals can prevent you from unintentionally disclosing information or betraying your intentions. Another trap is neglecting the importance of context. Facial expressions don't exist in a vacuum. The surrounding circumstances, the social dynamics, and the individual's history all play a role in interpreting their behavior. A furrowed brow might indicate concern in one situation, but could signify disagreement in another. Failing to consider the context can lead to misinterpretations and inaccurate judgments. Ignoring cultural differences is another common mistake. Facial expressions are not universally understood. What might be considered a sign of respect in one culture could be interpreted as arrogance in another. Being aware of cultural norms and adapting your interpretations accordingly is essential for effective communication in diverse settings. The reliance on conscious thought alone also hinders the ability to excel at the game of faces. Overanalyzing every microexpression and trying to consciously decode every gesture can lead to analysis paralysis and prevent you from responding naturally. Trusting your intuition and allowing your subconscious mind to process information is often more effective than relying solely on logic and reason. Finally, underestimating the importance of practice is a fatal flaw. Mastering the game of faces requires consistent effort, diligent observation, and a willingness to learn from your mistakes. The more you practice reading people, the better you will become at detecting subtle cues and understanding the dynamics of social interaction. It's a skill that is honed over time, and those who are willing to invest the time and effort will reap the rewards of increased awareness, enhanced influence, and a deeper understanding of human nature. The ultimate failure is to believe that faces don't matter, to think that words are the only thing that matters. The strategic manipulation of facial expressions, the conscious crafting of a facade, becomes a tool as potent as any spoken word. This is the Machiavellian approach to the game of faces, where authenticity is secondary to achieving a desired outcome. Consider the subtle art of mirroring. By consciously mimicking the facial expressions of another, you create an instant sense of rapport and connection. It signals agreement, understanding, and empathy, even if none of those feelings are genuinely present. This mirroring, done subtly, can disarm your opponent, making them more receptive to your ideas and suggestions. Think of it as a carefully constructed echo chamber, where their own emotions are reflected back at them, reinforcing their sense of being understood. This is not about blatant imitation, which would appear contrived and insincere, but rather a subtle synchronization of facial cues that operates largely beneath conscious awareness. Another key tactic is the controlled display of emotions. Knowing when to reveal and when to conceal is crucial. A carefully timed furrow of the brow can convey concern, a slight upturn of the lips can signal approval, and a momentary widening of the eyes can express surprise. These are all calculated moves, designed to elicit a specific response from the other person. The goal is to guide their emotional state, to steer them towards a desired conclusion, all while maintaining an air of sincerity and authenticity. This requires a keen understanding of human psychology, an ability to anticipate reactions, and the self-control to manage your own emotional displays. The poker face, the ability to maintain a neutral expression regardless of inner turmoil, is an essential skill in this game. It denies your opponent valuable information, preventing them from reading your intentions or exploiting your vulnerabilities. A well-maintained poker face can project an image of confidence, control, and invulnerability, making you a formidable opponent in any negotiation or social interaction. However, the poker face should not be mistaken for a complete lack of expression. That can be equally revealing, signaling aloofness, disinterest, or even suspicion. The key is to maintain a balance, to reveal just enough to maintain engagement without giving away anything of substance. The strategic use of microexpressions is another powerful tool in the Machiavellian arsenal. These fleeting, involuntary facial expressions reveal true emotions, often contradicting the conscious facade. Learning to suppress these microexpressions, to mask your true feelings even for a fraction of a second, can be incredibly advantageous. It requires intense focus and self-awareness, but the ability to control these subtle cues can give you a significant edge in high-stakes situations. Imagine being able to negotiate a deal without revealing your eagerness, or to deflect criticism without betraying your anger or frustration. The control of microexpressions is the ultimate mastery of the game of faces. Furthermore, consider the power of feigned vulnerability. By intentionally displaying a hint of insecurity or self-doubt, you can lower your opponent's guard and make them more likely to underestimate you. This can create an opening for a strategic maneuver, allowing you to seize control of the situation when they least expect it. However, this tactic must be employed with caution, as it can also backfire if it appears contrived or insincere. The key is to strike a balance between vulnerability and competence, to project an image of being both relatable and capable. Remember, the Machiavellian approach is not about deception for its own sake, but rather about strategically managing impressions to achieve specific goals. It's about understanding the power of facial expressions and using them to your advantage in the complex game of social interaction. It demands careful observation, calculated manipulation, and a deep understanding of human psychology. It is a high-stakes game, where the rewards are influence, power, and the ability to shape reality itself. The question then becomes, how far are you willing to go? How much of your true self are you willing to sacrifice in the pursuit of victory? And are you prepared to face the consequences of your actions, both ethical and practical? The answers to these questions will determine your success and your ultimate legacy in the game of faces. Deception, then, is not merely lying with words, but crafting an entire persona through the arrangement of your features. The game of faces is not a new phenomenon. It echoes through the annals of history, in the strategies of empires and the tactics of war. Consider the Roman Empire, a master of projecting an image of invincibility. Their legions, clad in standardized armor, marched in perfect formation, a visual representation of discipline and unwavering strength. This display was not merely for show. It was a carefully constructed facade designed to intimidate potential enemies and maintain control over conquered territories. The faces of the Roman soldiers, hardened by years of training and combat, reflected this image of power. They were trained to maintain a stoic expression, masking any fear or doubt, projecting an unwavering resolve that could crush rebellions and deter invasions. This was the Roman face of dominance, a symbol of imperial might that resonated across the ancient world. But beneath this facade lay a complex web of political intrigue and social maneuvering. The Roman emperors, masters of the game of faces themselves, understood the importance of projecting an image of strength and authority, while simultaneously cultivating popular support through carefully orchestrated displays of generosity and public works. They manipulated public opinion through propaganda, commissioning statues and monuments that glorified their achievements and reinforced their legitimacy. They understood that power was not merely about military might, but also about controlling the narrative and shaping perceptions. Similarly, in the art of war, the game of faces plays a crucial role in deceiving the enemy and gaining a strategic advantage. Sun Tzu, in his seminal work, The Art of War, emphasized the importance of deception, advising generals to appear weak when you are strong and strong when you are weak. This principle extends beyond battlefield tactics to encompass the entire spectrum of military strategy, including the manipulation of intelligence and the dissemination of misinformation. A general might feign a retreat to lure the enemy into a trap, or spread rumors of a larger force to intimidate them into surrendering. The faces of the soldiers themselves can also be used as a tool of deception. By adopting a calm and confident demeanor, even in the face of overwhelming odds, they can project an image of strength and resolve that belies their true circumstances. This can demoralize the enemy and give their own side a psychological advantage. Think of the Spartans at Thermopylae, outnumbered and facing certain death, yet holding their ground with unwavering courage, their faces masks of defiance. Their sacrifice became a legend, inspiring generations of warriors, and demonstrating the power of projecting an image of invincibility, even in the face of annihilation. Consider also the Trojan horse, a masterpiece of deception that allowed the Greeks to infiltrate the city of Troy and ultimately win the Trojan War. The Greeks presented the Trojans with a seemingly harmless gift, a giant wooden horse, while secretly concealing soldiers within its hollow belly. The Trojans, deceived by this elaborate ruse, brought the horse inside their city walls, unwittingly inviting their own destruction. The faces of the Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse must have been a study in controlled tension, masking their true intentions while waiting for the opportune moment to strike. These historical examples illustrate the enduring power of the game of faces in shaping the course of events. Whether it is the projection of imperial dominance or the strategic deception of warfare, the ability to manipulate appearances and control perceptions is a crucial element of success. The mastery of facial expressions, the art of projecting a desired image, and the skill of reading the faces of others are all essential tools in this game. It is a game that has been played for centuries, and it continues to be played today in the boardrooms and battlefields of the modern world. The stakes may be different, but the principles remain the same. Understand the power of appearances, master the art of deception, and learn to see through the masks that others wear. Only then can you truly navigate the complex landscape of social interaction and achieve your goals. The echoes of empires and the lessons of war serve as a constant reminder that the game of faces is not just about individual interactions. It is about the very fabric of power itself. The human face, a landscape of subtle shifts and fleeting expressions, is a primary arena for the performance of power. We are all, to varying degrees, actors on a stage, carefully curating the image we project to the world. This is not simply about conscious deception. Often it is an unconscious adaptation, a learned behavior ingrained from years of navigating social landscapes. The face becomes a mask, revealing only what we choose or perhaps what we think we should. Consider the poker face, the epitome of emotional control. A skilled player can maintain an expression of utter neutrality, regardless of the strength or weakness of their hand. This mask of impassivity serves a crucial purpose. It denies opponents valuable information, preventing them from exploiting any telltale signs of nervousness, excitement, or disappointment. The poker face is not just about hiding emotions. It is about actively projecting an image of control and confidence, subtly influencing the perceptions of others. This manipulation of perception is at the heart of the game of faces. It extends far beyond the poker table, influencing every aspect of our interactions, from job interviews to romantic encounters. The ability to project an image of competence and trustworthiness, even when feeling insecure or uncertain, can significantly increase your chances of success. Similarly, the capacity to detect subtle inconsistencies in the expressions of others can provide valuable insights into their true intentions and motivations. These microexpressions, fleeting displays of emotion that often contradict the words being spoken, are the cracks in the facade, the moments when the true self momentarily peeks through. Learning to recognize and interpret these subtle cues is a crucial skill in the game of faces, allowing you to see beyond the carefully constructed masks that people wear. The psychology of facial expression is complex and multifaceted, influenced by a range of factors, including culture, personality, and context. What is considered an appropriate expression of emotion in one culture may be viewed as inappropriate or even offensive in another. Similarly, individuals with certain personality traits, such as narcissism or sociopathy, may be particularly adept at manipulating their facial expressions to achieve their goals. They may be able to feign empathy or remorse with remarkable skill, even when they feel no genuine emotion. This capacity for deception can be incredibly effective in exploiting the vulnerabilities of others, highlighting the darker side of the game of faces. Furthermore, the context in which an interaction takes place can significantly influence the expressions that are displayed. In situations where power dynamics are unequal, individuals in positions of authority may feel more comfortable expressing a wider range of emotions, while those in subordinate positions may feel compelled to suppress their true feelings in order to avoid offending or challenging their superiors. This creates a dynamic where the faces of those in power often reflect a sense of entitlement and control, while the faces of those who are subordinate may betray a mixture of deference, anxiety, and resentment. Therefore, a keen understanding of both psychology and human behavior is essential for becoming fluent in the game of faces. It requires a continuous study of these intricate social dance steps to learn how appearances can be deceiving and to navigate the social arena with skill and awareness. Consider the high-stakes world of corporate negotiations, a breeding ground for subtle facial maneuvering and strategic emotional displays. Imagine a scenario where two companies are vying for a lucrative merger, and the CEO of the smaller company is sitting across the table from the CEO of the larger, more dominant corporation. The smaller company's CEO, let's call him Mr. Sterling, enters the room with a carefully constructed air of confidence. He knows his company's worth, and he intends to project strength, but beneath the surface, there's a current of anxiety. He needs this merger to secure his company's future. The larger company's CEO, Ms. Thorne, a seasoned negotiator with a reputation for ruthlessness, greets Mr. Sterling with a warm, seemingly genuine smile. It's a smile that reaches her eyes, a display of authenticity designed to disarm. But it's also a calculated move. Ms. Thorne understands the power of mirroring, subtly reflecting Mr. Sterling's initial confidence to establish a rapport and gain his trust. As the negotiation progresses, Ms. Thorne subtly shifts her facial expressions to exert control. When Mr. Sterling presents his company's financial projections, Ms. Thorne raises a skeptical eyebrow, a fleeting expression of doubt that plants a seed of uncertainty in Mr. Sterling's mind. She doesn't explicitly challenge the numbers, but her nonverbal communication speaks volumes. Mr. Sterling, subconsciously influenced by Ms. Thorne's skepticism, feels compelled to defend his position, revealing more information than he initially intended. Ms. Thorne then employs a technique known as the concerned frown. As Mr. Sterling outlines his vision for the merged company, Ms. Thorne furrows her brow, conveying a sense of concern for potential challenges and risks. This seemingly empathetic gesture elicits sympathy from Mr. Sterling, who begins to downplay potential obstacles, unwittingly weakening his negotiating stance. Throughout the negotiation, Ms. Thorne carefully monitors Mr. Sterling's facial expressions, looking for micro-expressions that betray his true feelings. A slight tightening of the lips when she mentions a particular clause in the contract, a fleeting widening of the eyes when she suggests a lower valuation for his company. These subtle cues provide invaluable insights into his vulnerabilities and anxieties. Mr. Sterling, on the other hand, attempts to maintain a poker face, consciously suppressing any outward displays of emotion. He understands that Ms. Thorne is trying to read him, but he underestimates the power of microexpressions and the unconscious leakage of his true feelings. As the negotiation reaches a critical juncture, Ms. Thorne unveils her final offer, a significantly lower valuation than Mr. Sterling had anticipated. She delivers the offer with a neutral expression, her face devoid of any emotion. This ambiguity forces Mr. Sterling to react, and his reaction reveals his hand. A flash of anger crosses his face, a brief but telling display of frustration. Ms. Thorne seizes on this moment of weakness, pressing her advantage. She calmly explains the rationale behind her offer, highlighting the risks and uncertainties associated with Mr. Sterling's company. Her tone is measured, her words carefully chosen, but her underlying message is clear: take the deal or risk losing everything. Mr. Sterling, feeling trapped and vulnerable, ultimately concedes, accepting the lower valuation. In this high-stakes game of faces, Ms. Thorne's mastery of nonverbal communication and emotional manipulation proved decisive. She successfully used facial expressions to control the narrative, exploit Mr. Sterling's vulnerabilities, and ultimately achieve her desired outcome. The negotiation table becomes a battleground, where facial expressions are weapons and emotional control is the ultimate advantage. Mr. Sterling's downfall lies in his fundamental misunderstanding of the game itself. He believes that hiding his emotions is sufficient to protect himself, failing to recognize that true control lies in projecting the asterisk-right emotions, not simply suppressing them all. A blank face is not a strong face. It's an empty canvas upon which others can project their own interpretations and anxieties. Ms. Thorne masterfully exploits this vulnerability, using her carefully controlled expressions to create an atmosphere of uncertainty and doubt. She understands that in the absence of clear signals, Mr. Sterling will be forced to rely on his own internal state, amplifying his fears and insecurities. This is a classic manipulation tactic. Create ambiguity to induce anxiety, then offer a solution, however unfavorable, to relieve the pressure. Mr. Sterling walks directly into the trap because he's playing defense when he should be playing offense. He's reacting to Ms. Thorne's moves instead of dictating the terms of the interaction. The amateur focuses on avoiding mistakes. The master focuses on creating opportunities. Ms. Thorne generates opportunity by forcing Mr. Sterling into a reactive position, preventing him from establishing his own frame and controlling the flow of the conversation. He allows her to set the emotional tone, to define the parameters of the negotiation, and ultimately, to dictate the outcome. This highlights a crucial distinction between simply suppressing emotions and actively managing them. Suppression is a passive strategy, a form of self-denial that ultimately weakens your position. Active management, on the other hand, is a deliberate act of communication, a way to shape perceptions and influence behavior. Ms. Thorne doesn't just hide her emotions, she strategically deploys them to create a desired effect. She uses a neutral expression to create uncertainty, a slight smile to convey confidence, and a calm tone to project authority. These are not random expressions. They are calculated moves designed to manipulate Mr. Sterling's emotional state and guide him towards her desired outcome. The weak player sees the face as a mask to conceal their true self. The strong player sees it as a tool to project a desired image and influence others. Mr. Sterling's mistake is not simply that he shows a flicker of anger, but that he allows Ms. Thorne to control his emotional landscape in the first place. He cedes control of the narrative, allowing her to define the terms of engagement and exploit his underlying vulnerabilities. He enters the negotiation believing that his business acumen will be enough, failing to recognize that the human element, the subtle dance of emotions and expressions, is often the deciding factor. He underestimates the power of perception and the importance of controlling the frame. The world doesn't reward truth, it rewards perceived truth, and the master manipulator is the one who can shape that perception to their advantage. This is the art of the game of faces, not simply hiding your emotions, but mastering the art of projecting the emotions that serve your purpose. It's about understanding the power of nonverbal communication and using it to control the narrative, influence others, and ultimately, achieve your desired outcome. The face is not just a reflection of your inner state. It's a weapon in the ongoing battle for power and influence. Learn to wield it effectively, or risk becoming another pawn in someone else's game. The game of faces is not about deception in its basest form, but about strategic signaling. It's about understanding that every expression, every subtle twitch of a muscle, transmits information that can be interpreted and exploited. In the social arena, these signals are currency. They are the building blocks of trust, rapport, and ultimately power. The novice believes that honesty is always the best policy, oblivious to the fact that raw, unfiltered emotion can be a devastating weakness. The adept understands that truth is subjective, and that the skillful projection of a carefully curated persona can be far more effective than simply revealing one's innermost thoughts. It's about understanding the difference between authenticity and vulnerability. Authenticity can be a powerful tool when used strategically, but vulnerability is almost always a liability. The master of faces cultivates a detached awareness, observing the reactions of others while maintaining a carefully constructed facade. They understand that emotions are contagious, and that by controlling their own emotional state, they can influence the emotional state of those around them. This is not about suppressing genuine feelings, but about channeling them, shaping them, and using them to achieve a desired effect. Think of it as a performance, a carefully orchestrated play where every gesture and expression is designed to elicit a specific response. It's about reading the audience, anticipating their reactions, and adjusting your performance accordingly. The face becomes a canvas, and the manipulator becomes an artist, painting a portrait of themselves that is both compelling and advantageous. Mr. Sterling failed because he viewed the interaction as a straightforward negotiation, focusing on the tangible aspects of the deal while neglecting the subtle nuances of human interaction. He failed to recognize that Ms. Thorne was not simply trying to reach an agreement, but that she was also engaged in a psychological power play, testing his resolve, probing his weaknesses, and manipulating his emotions. He allowed her to dictate the terms of engagement, falling into her carefully laid trap. The game of faces is a constant struggle for dominance, a silent battle waged with expressions, gestures, and carefully chosen words. It's about understanding the underlying dynamics of social interaction and using that knowledge to your advantage. It's about recognizing that every interaction is a potential opportunity to gain power and influence, or to cede it to someone else. The person who controls the frame controls the narrative, and the person who controls the narrative controls the outcome. So study the faces of those around you, learn to decipher their hidden emotions, and above all, learn to control your